How important is Doctor Who to your impressive CV?
Oh, very important. I mean, I feel that Doctor Who was the thing that launched me on my way, very much so. And also, it was one of the things I most enjoyed making, because in those days, because of its beginnings, we were rather left alone to do what we wanted. And it didn't have the sort of standard format of any show. You could almost do anything. If you thought of something quite bizarre and extraordinary, it was possible to involve it in a story. That was fabulous, really. But I think also when it first came out, I mean, my brief was to make it for children of 8 to 14. And I mean, I hadn't got any children, and therefore I made it for me, really. So I felt it was always for children of all ages. And I really think it had that appeal. I mean, I remember my friends used to spill out of Henneky's on a Saturday afternoon and go home and watch Doctor Who. And it was sort of wonderful that it had that overall appeal. I think that there's always an ever replenishing audience, isn't there, for Doctor Who of kids. And also, I think one of the things that we did was I never made it for kids. I made it for the kid in me. And there had to be good stories which involved me, and that's the secret of anything, really. I mean, the special effects are wonderful, but the stories have to be good. The first time I remember the Daleks was going down to a producer's run, because we would have a read-through where we would read the script, and then about 3 or 4 days later I would come down and there would be a run through of the whole episode for me to make my comments on. And I remember the Daleks being there at this run because they of course had to be worked into the script, and I sort of knew that they were going to work, in that we all wanted to get inside one and work them. Yes. It was like suddenly having these huge toys being let loose in Hamleys, really.
Yeah, lovely.
And there was something magical about them, that you just wanted to get in and rush around them. And we all did, I think.
Oh, yeah.
If I had a criticism of the later Doctor Who's, I felt that they began to be a parody of themselves. They didn't really take themselves seriously enough, and they got a bit camp. And I think that may be why the audience started to go away, really. Well, I love it, the fact that I get letters from people in America and all over the world, really, who are seeing the videos and who obviously love the program and are seeing, some of the ones that I made, because up until video came, you always felt the things that you did were lost forever. I mean, once they'd gone out, really. So it's wonderful to feel that it's having another life and still has a life. And it would be very nice if it did come back. I would, on the whole, not attend rehearsals. I would go to the read-through, and I would stay and I would certainly go to the read-through, because that's the only time you ever see, well, those days you did see the cast together more, but you see them together and you get a sense of how it's playing. If anything needs to be altered, if anything needs to be written, if something needs to be clarified, that's the time that you can do it. So I was always at the read-through. I didn't go down to rehearsals unless there was a problem, but I did expect any rewrites to be called through to my office in case I didn't agree with them. And the reason I didn't go to do many rehearsals is because I see the role of the producer as being an objective role at that point, whereas the director inevitably must become subjective. So you can stand back, and if something's gone a bit off track, you can see it. Whereas if you've been to rehearsals all the time, you become too involved in it. So I would go to the producer's run, and then I would go into the studio and also go to the technical, go dress rehearsal, and I would always be there for the taping. But I do see a producer's job as being an enabler. I think that's very much part of a job, to try to get people to do their best work.
Yeah.
I don't change the way I want to make things, although the pressures on casting and everything are quite considerable.
Yeah.
But I've always somehow managed to finesse my way through it. and do the things that, rightly or wrongly, I've always managed to have the people I want to have rather than the people I'm told I have to have.
There are a lot of people telling you about people they want you to have, and you can't do anything about it.
Well, that's true, especially in... But I still think there are ways around it.
What's a posh bird like Verity Lambert doing hanging around with a low life like Budgie? Is he your bit of rough?
Maybe it's my nostalgie de la boue. I think the thing that attracted me about Budgie was the fact that Keith Waterhouse and Willis Orr were writing it, because they were. I mean, when I was offered it, they were already. It was their idea, and I remember meeting them for lunch, and I was completely overawed by them, because of course I'm in their plays. Billy Liar and The Long and the Short and the Tall. I mean, they were just so brilliant. And I remember this first lunch because they're both Yorkshiremen and they're rather tight-lipped. They don't say a lot. And Stella Richmond had commissioned this series. She was then programme controller of London Weekend Television. And so we had this lunch. And, she said, you must meet the boys. And I thought, God, I'm going down really badly because, they were so monosyllabic. I thought... Well, they obviously think I'm awful, and they're not. It was really, really worrying, actually. They would just fix me with a sort of opaque stare, and I couldn't really tell what they were thinking. Anyway, in the end, they said, that they will very much want me to produce it, and so we went on from there. Once we got on the road, we got on very well, and really, I discovered that they were like that with everybody, so it wasn't just me. And also, I mean, of course, once you get to know people, you get inside their head, and we had some good times. Yeah.
Good stuff.
I think I remember the first transmission of Budgie, because I mean, nowadays when looking at it, it probably looks fairly. I mean, there've been many shows like it, but at the time, it was considered to be very, very near the knuckle. And after the first show, the man who owned Mothercare wrote to Cyril Bennett, who was then the programme crew, and said that he refused to advertise in this absolutely disgusting programme which was about pornography, and I should be fired.
That's lovely. Good heavens. I mean, that goes along with the stories that we've heard before, and things like, executives telling you couldn't wear trousers in the office and things like that. How times have changed. I mean,
well, times have changed. I don't remember exactly.
Well, that's one that Moira told us about you. She remembers that you got sent home once or something.
Oh, did I?
She was wearing trousers. But, I can't. Oh, right. I thought one coming in the end there. Something.
I can't believe I was sent home. I can't believe I went home because I was told I couldn't wear trousers. That would have gone down very badly with me.
You just told them to shove off, I would have thought.
I think I might have done. Because I was the only woman in the department, after Rex Firkin, who was the head of the department, had chosen his office, I could choose my office. And for some bizarre reason why, and I can't really fathom it, Rex chose an office at the back of the building, leaving this extraordinary office, which I then had, which was in the front of the building, which looked out over the Oxo Tower and St Paul's. I mean, I had this incredible... How I did any work at all, I don't know. I spent most of my time staring out of the window. It was so amazing. Well, I think I look back on almost everything I've done with pleasure, because I never really wanted to do anything that I didn't want to do. Even when I was a young producer and should have been extremely grateful for what was thrown to me, I simply couldn't do something that I thought wasn't right. And indeed, before we were talked about the newcomers, I was actually offered something else before the newcomers, and I refused to do it. Even though Donald Wilson said he could fire me for saying no, I simply couldn't do it. Well, he didn't say, he did say, you do realise that you are under contract. I wasn't a staff person, right. And if you don't decide to do the show, we can get rid of you. And I said, yes, I do realise that, but I can't do the show. Mm-hmm. So I suppose I always look back on, well, most things I look back with fondness. Even actually, I have to say El Dorado, I look back with some fondness. So.
You said the E word. You said the E word. I think that's probably it.
Is that it? Fantastic.
We're done.
Well, I hope you've got enough.
I can't think of anything else that I've not covered.
You've got enough.
I've got loads there. Thank you very much for the extra time as well.
Is that it?